Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is BINTI SULAIMAN. My student ID is 2021470596, and today I'm going to talk about the company background of Berjaya Corporation Berhad. For the first part is the company background. Berjaya was previously known as Berjaya KHALID Berhad and now known as Reka Pacific Berhad, founded by Broken Hill Proprietary Limited, Australia, and National Iron and Steel Mills, Singapore. In 1984, Tan Sri Dato Sri Vincent Tan Chi Yun, who is the founder, took a stake in Berjaya Industrial Berhad. In 1988, Tan swapped his shares in Berjaya for control of Relay Berhad, which was then renamed Inter-Pacific and turned into Berjaya's holding company. It later became known as Reka Pacific Berhad. Under his leadership, Berjaya's pre-tax profit rose from Rm700,000 in 1984 to 70 million ringgit in 1989 and Rm342 million in 1998 and exceeding Rm1 billion in next 2 decades. Berjaya Corporation Berhad assumed the listing status of Berjaya Group Berhad on the main board of Bursa Securities upon the completion of the group restructuring exercise in 2005 and the listing of new shares the year after. There are several listed subsidiaries under Berjaya Corporation Berhad, which are Berjaya Land Berhad, Berjaya Sports Toto Berhad, Berjaya Food Berhad, including Papa Richie brand, Redtone Digital Berhad, formerly known as Redtone International Berhad, and Berjaya Philippines Incorporation. Berjaya Corporation Berhad is a Malaysia-based corporation which controls a wide array of businesses, including consumer marketing, direct selling and retail, financial services, property development and investment, as well as hotels, resorts, vacations, timeshare, and recreation development. It also specializes in gaming and lottery management, food and beverage, motor trading and distribution, investment on environmental services and clean technology, finally communication and information technology related services and products.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Mohamad Aadli bin Mohamad Nawi. My student ID is 2021470744 and I'm going to continue the presentation. First, we go through the management approach. Management approach is a component of an entity that engage in business activities from which it may earn revenue and incur expenses, whose operating results are reviewed by the CODM to make decisions about resource allocations and performance assessments for enhanced discrete financial information for when it's available. Next, we are going to see factors to consider by having a segment reporting. There are 4 factors, which is first is nature, product or service, second is nature, production process, third is type of customer, and last, method to distribute. Next, I'm going to explain the first factor, which is nature, product or service. For Berjaya Corporation Berhad Nature, there are both product and services. There are 6 major business segments. First is financial services, marketing of consumer product and services, property investment and development, hotel and resorts, gaming and related activities, and the last one, the restaurants. Okay, we are going to the second factor, which is nature production process. The first segment is financial services. Inter-Pacific Capital Sdn Berhad is one of BICOP subsidiaries. Inter-Pacific also is a stockbroking company and they have 5 offices located around Kuala Lumpur, Johor Bahru and Penang. They also have 500 people of dealer representative and staff. For the second segment, which is marketing of consumer product and services, Causeway Corporation Berhad became wholly owned subsidiaries by BICOP on June 2012. Causeway is a hybrid consumer marketing company. It blends the best features of global networking marketing system with the convenience and reach all of a wide retail chains. Okay, next segment is property investment and development. Berjaya Corporation Berhad own 4 commercial properties: Plaza Berjaya, Kota Raya Complex, Wisma Causeway, all at Kuala Lumpur, and also Berjaya Mega Mall at Kuantan. Development business segment primarily involved in the development of the group land bank locally and abroad. For the next segment is hotel and resort. Berjaya Corporation Berhad own and operates 16 hotel and resort locally and internationally. The main hotel and resort for BICOP is like Berjaya Langkawi Resort, Langkawi, Berjaya Times Square, Kuala Lumpur, Ansa Kuala Lumpur, Berjaya Penang Hotel, and also Berjaya Tioman Resort at Pahang. For the gaming and related activity segment, Berjaya Sport Toto Berhad or B Toto principally engage in the operation of Toto. They are kind of betting, leasing of online lottery equipment, the development, voting system, and also manufacturing of distribution of computerized wagering. For the restaurant segment, Berjaya Corporation Berhad owns several restaurant companies such as Berjaya Starbucks Coffee, Berjaya Roaster, Berjaya Krispy Kreme Donut Sendirian Berhad, and many more. For the next factor is type of customer. There are 5 types of customer, which is loyal customer, impulse customer, need-based customer, discount customer, and wandering customer. Of course, for Berjaya Corporation Berhad, they will treat all of these customers because they will gain profit from it. For the last factor is method to distribute. There are many ways, such as by food and beverage, through their famous restaurant like Starbucks, Krispy Kreme, and Kenny Roger Roaster. Next is by telecommunication. Redtune, owned by Berjaya Corporation Berhad, they provide data and Wi-Fi services. Next method is by financial services that provide movement in stock market and expect a global stock market. And not to be forgotten, hotel and resorts that provide accommodation. Next is...
My name is Mohamad bin AREEF bin Noor. Let's take a look at the type of segment. The group is organized on a worldwide basis and present its segmental information based on business segments. First, financial services, marketing of consumer product and services, property and investment and development, hotels and resorts, gaming and related activities, restaurants, and others. Next, the geographical segmental information is prepared based on the location of assets. The segment revenue by geographical location of where the sales are transacted does not differ materially from the segment revenue by geographical location of assets. In Berjaya Corporation Berhad, Mr. Abdul Jalil bin Abdul Rashid, who is the Chief Executive Officer of the company, also held the Chief of Decision Making (CODM) and all its responsibilities. One of it is focus on business objective, responsible for overseeing the day-to-day management of the group business, implementing board's policies and decision, handling the strategic and operational decision making, and lastly, planning the future business of the group. To identify the reportable segment, it must meet any one of the quantitative threshold. The first one is revenue, second is result of profit or loss, and the last one is that it should meet the assets of quantitative threshold. So, segment assets are 10% or more of the total asset of all operating segment, and it also means that the segment is not required to meet all of these quantitative threshold. It's really compulsory for a segment to meet one of the quantitative threshold. If the segment did not satisfy any one of the quantitative 10% threshold, it cannot be designated as the reportable segment despite its size, which means here that the segment can be combined with the other similar segment which is also below the threshold of significance for the purpose of meeting that 10% threshold test. After we are done with determining the reportable segment, then the company must ensure that the total external revenue attributable to those reportable segments are at least 75% of the company's total revenue. Now, let us begin with the 10% threshold test.
Let's begin with calculation of 10% threshold test. First of all, we need to know that there are 3 bases of test, which is revenue, profit or loss, and assets.
For revenue, this is how we calculate it. Right now, we take financial services as an example. So firstly, we take the total revenue of the financial services and divide it by the total revenue of all the operating segment. After that, we will multiply it by 100. Then, we will get the percentage of revenue of 2.46%. This means that it is non-reportable because it does not meet the 10%. Then, we will repeat the same method of our calculation just now on all the other operating segments. Then, we found out that only marketing of consumer products and services and gaming-related activities are reportable, while the others are non-reportable. Now, let us move on to the next basis. Finally, we have the asset basis. For this basis, let's take property investment and development as an example. So, we will take the total asset from the property investment and development and divide it by the total asset of all the operating segments. Then, we will multiply it by 100 and we will get 36.66% of assets. This means that it is reportable. Now, we will repeat the same method of calculation to all the other operating segments. Then only we found out that marketing of consumer products and services, property investment and development, hotels and resorts, and gaming and related activities are reportable, while financial services, restaurants and cafes and others are non-reportable. Now, let's continue with the 75% threshold test. Like I have mentioned before, we will test the 4 reportable segments that we have which are marketing of consumer product and services, property investment and developments, hotel and resort, and gaming and related activities. We will take the external revenue of all reportable segment and divide it by the total revenue of the entity. Then we will multiply it by 100 and we will get 76.83%. This clearly means that it meets the 75% threshold test, plus we don't need to add any more of the operating segment. Now we will reconstruct the new segmental report. Here is the new segmental report. As we can see, it is divided between two sections, which are reportable operating segment, which include marketing of consumer product and services, property investment and development, hotels and resorts, and gaming and related activities, and all the non-reportable segment, which are financial services, restaurant and cafes, and others. We have achieved one of the objectives of the assignment, which is to get at least 4 reportable segment and a minimum of 1 non-reportable.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is NURUL BINTI KHALID, and I'm going to present the segmental report advantages and disadvantages. Major benefits of segmental report is transparency. Analysts, potential investors, stakeholders might need and want the comprehensive information to assess the company's long-term viability as well as the growth and the performance of the company. It is called transparency because all the transactions will be divided into a segmental that can be reportable or non-reportable. All the transactions might be important to those potential investors, stakeholders, and analysts. The second advantage is the separation of profitable segments. It is useful for business that have different categories and have different geographical area. It helps the company to identify which region are profitable and which are cost-centered. For example, Berjaya Corporation have many categories, which is hotel, resort, gaming, restaurants, and many more. So, Berjaya Corporation can identify which segments, which categories have more profitable and which categories are more to cost-centered. Segmental report also enables stakeholders to have better understanding regarding the changes that might affect overall figures. For example, if Berjaya Corporation earnings in 2022 are significantly higher than the projected earnings, therefore segment reports can reveal where the profits are coming from. And the stakeholders can judge whether the figures are sustainable for short-term or long-term period. Segmental report has improved the context of financial statement and the management of the company, and it will lead to investors having a better understanding regarding the companies and the future cash flow. Even though segmental report having many advantages, but there are also disadvantages, which is they will have problem in allocating the segments. It usually happens in the corporate organization with multiple products. For example, the expenditure occurred for one or more items usually will be shared together. For example, is general administrative and legal costs are joint costs. Therefore, when it comes to segment report, this will lead to difficulties to segment those items. Segmental report also has a disadvantage on disclosure costs. Disclosure costs are also included in the segmental report. For example, all the information and the data that the management received will increase the firm's operating costs as well as the control system expenditure. It is because of the processing, collecting the data will cost money. As a result of segmental reporting, this will lead the companies towards more competition regarding the cost argument. In conclusion, an entity shall disclose all the information whether it is a minor or major information. It is because user of financial statements can evaluate the nature and the financial effect of the business activities. In addition to that, Users of financial statements also have a right to know the engagement of the business and the economic environment that the business operates in.
Now we move to Part B, Question 1. The basis of preparation of the interim report. Interim financial report is a financial report containing either a complete set of financial statements as per Mfrs 101 or a set of condensed financial statements as described in this standard. For an interim report, Bursa Malaysia requires all entities whose debt or equity securities are publicly traded to publish interim financial reports. It can be issued semi-annually, quarterly or bi-monthly. As you can see, there are two main bases in identifying interim report, which are integral method and discrete method. Let's see the different characteristic of these two methods. First, the expenses. On the integral method, the interim period is an integral part of the annual accounting period. As such, all expenses, they may not arise specifically during an interim period, nevertheless are accrued within all interim periods. Based on management best estimates, the heightened level of accrual usage likely will result in numerous accrual adjustments in subsequent periods to deal with any earlier estimation errors. It also calls for the use of the estimated annual tax rate for all interim periods, since the annual tax rate may vary considerably from the rate in effect during the interim period if the company is subject of graduated tax rates. On the other hand, under discrete method, each interim period is considered to be a discrete reporting period and as such is not associated with expenses that may arise during other interim periods of the reporting year. A result of this thinking is that an expenses benefiting more than one interim period will be fully recognized in the period incurred rather than being recognized over multiple periods. Next, the difference between interim report and annual report. For an integral interim report, distinction needs to be done, but not for discretion report. Lastly, accounting policies. Under discrete view, same accounting principles and practices used for annual reporting are used for interim reporting. Thus, no special treatment for over or under applied overhead at interim dates and no special accrual and different treatments. Whereas, under integral method, the same principles and practices used for annual reporting are not always used in integral view. Therefore, a special treatment for over or under overhead at interim dates can be used. In addition, special accrual and different treatments are allowed. In this case, Berjaya Corporation Berhad using integral method in preparing the company interim report, since the interim report is the fraction of its annual report. The interim report of the company is prepared quarterly. The unaudited interim financial statements have been prepared with accordance with Mfrs 134, Interim Financial Reporting, requirements of the Companies Act 2016 and Paragraph 9.22 of the Main Market Listing Requirements of Bursa Malaysia Securities Berhad. The unaudited interim financial statements should be read in conjunction with the audited annual financial statement of the group for the financial year ended 30th June 2021, which were prepared in compliance with Malaysian Financial Reporting Standards (MFRS), International Financial Reporting Standards (IFRS), and the requirements of the Companies Act 2016 in Malaysia.
Let's continue with accounting policies that are used in the interim report. The first one is property, plant and equipment. All items under property, plant and equipment will be recorded at cost. Subsequent costs are included in the assets carrying amount and recognized as a separate asset. It is only probable that if economic benefits will flow into the entity and the cost can be measured reliably. The second one is depreciation. Subsequent to recognition, property, plant and equipment except for freehold land are stated at cost less accumulated depreciation on and the accumulated impairment loss. The method used by Berjaya Corporation is straight line method over its useful life. The rate of the depreciation is as follows. Building starts from 1.25% until 20%. Barrel plant starts from 0.5% until 5%. Plant and equipment start from 5% until 33%. Computer and office equipment starts from 10% until 67%. And renovation start from 2% until 33%. Features and fittings start from 5% until 33% also. Motor vehicles start from 20% until 33% also. And aircraft starts ranging from 11 to 20 years or based on flying hours. Golf course development expenditures start from 1 until 2% only, and the others starts from 2 until 25% only.
Next is type of interim report that prepared by company. Berjaya Corporation Berhad prepares 7 types of interim report. They are condensed of consolidated statement of profit or loss, condensed of consolidated statement of comprehensive income, condensed consolidated statement of financial position, condensed consolidated statement of changes in equity, condensed consolidated statement of cash flow, notes to unaudited interim financial report, and last one, additional information required by listing requirement of Bursa Malaysia Security, or known as Bursa Securities LR.
Berjaya Corporation Berhad, we found out that they produce their interim report quarterly and they start in July 2020. So their first quarter is July to September, October to December, January to March, and their fourth quarter ends with April to June. In Berjaya Corporation Berhad, from quarter 1 to quarter 4, the statement of profit or loss will be as the period of every quarter. Berjaya Corporation Berhad quarterly financial interim reports consist of 3 months, thus the statement of profit or loss only show for the 3 months except for the other statement which apply the cumulative period. For quarter 1, all of the statement is in 3 months because the cumulative and current period are the same. For the next quarter, which is the second quarter, the statement of profit or loss will follow 3 months while the other statement will have a cumulative period of 6 months. Next, the third quarter will apply the same thing, which is 3 months period for the statement of profit or loss, while the other statement will apply to a cumulative period of 9 months. Lastly, the total cumulative period is 12 months for the fourth quarter for all the statements except for the statement of profit or loss, which is only 3 months.
Now, I will proceed with the proposed adjustment made by the company to be included in the interim reporting. Berjaya Corporation Berhad prepared their quarterly financial statement in accordance Mfrs 134 interim reporting and its financial year 30th June. The adjustment is made for the extra second quarter statement of financial position as at 31st December 2021. The first adjustment made by the company is on 20th November 2021, where the company purchased a new property by credit worth RM350,120 that will be used for their operation. Second adjustment is on 31st December 2021. The cost of inventories is RM1,622,418, while the net realizable is RM1,512,316. So, this is the extract of statement of financial position as at 31st December, before and after adjustment. As you can see, before the adjustment, the carrying value of PPE is RM2,829,007, and after adjustment is RM3,179,127. For inventories, before adjustment is RM1,622,418, and after adjustment, RM1,512,316.